Hello everyone, hope you're having a great day wherever you are. I'm going to take a little time and go through a little tutorial on how to set up the Thinkorswim platform charts to do what's called a comparison chart. In most cases, when we're doing a comparison of something, we're taking, for instance, the S&P 500 as an index and comparing it to a particular stock or comparing it to a particular sector within the entire market to help understand whether that stock or that sector is showing relative strength or weakness compared to the market. And the easiest way to do that is to stack and overlay two charts on top of one another. So we can set that up in our Thinkorswim platform, actually in most platforms probably, but I'm going to demonstrate on Thinkorswim pretty easily. That way you can access it with the click of a button. But it does take a little time to set up, but I'm going to walk through the process right now with you guys. Okay, so the first thing we're going to need is just a blank chart. And you could put any symbol up in the left here. You could put any ETF. I'm just using an ETF because oftentimes we use this percentage comparison to determine which sectors are outperforming or underperforming a particular stock market. But you could theoretically use this for comparing a particular stock to the sector that it's in, or compare the stock to the whole stock market and see how percentage-wise it's outperforming, underperforming, or is it performing with the overall thing you're trying to compare it to. So we first start out with a blank chart. No indicators, no oscillators, nothing like that. Keep it nice and simple. I got my price charts here, but we're going to first thing need to change this from price to percentage. Why? Well, we're not going to compare a sector's price or a stock's price to the S&P's price. They could be two wildly different. We want to change this so that we're looking at, on a percentage basis, how has the market been doing relative to a stock or a sector. So in order to make this a percent chart, we have to go into the settings first. So chart settings, by left clicking on this cog up here in the top right, you can go ahead and open up some general preferences. Go to the price axis, and I want you to check this show price as percentage and make sure show bubbles as percentage is also checked. Once you apply that, you'll see that this now changes from a price chart to a percentage chart. That's first thing and foremost, okay? Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go up into this beaker here, and this beaker is where we can left click on that button and open up and edit or add studies. So the study we're going to add is called a comparison study, and I just typed in comp and it brought up the only thing that starts with comp. And when you add that selected comparison and hit apply, what's going to show up is a purple line right on top of your price chart here. Well, what is that purple line? Well, that purple line is the line chart, so it's the daily close line chart of the S&P 500 index, the SPX. So I personally prefer to use candles, and I want to get a little bit of a different color candle that doesn't blend with the green and red candles of XLK. So to customize this indicator, we'll click on the cog on the far right, and we're going to change this simply to a candlestick chart. We are going to change the color. I'm going to use orange because it has a lot of high contrast. Okay. And the last thing that we need to do before we click OK is actually go back into the cog, and I don't want to put anything on the left axis. I want to keep everything on the right. So we want to uncheck left axis, keep stow shutty, and then go ahead and click OK and apply. And now you can see that we're comparing percentage-wise how this sector is doing relative to the stock market over this whole period of time. Okay, so this is now the basis for where we're going. So oftentimes when we're doing percent comparison, we use, say, a 1 month or a 3 month or even 6 months, but you can use whatever time interval you would like. But it's critical that we get this one chart set up and saved first. So if you want to do a comparison and say change the time frame, I want to look at the last, just call it 6 months. For instance, I mean, really, I use 3 months. Typically speaking, that's enough time to do a proper percentage comparison. So we'll use 3 months for this example, but you could compare over any length of time. And so it's always going to start out at 0 from whatever length of time you set in here. Okay, so the chart will always start at the same place, and then you'll see who the clear winner is. In this case, XLK is up 3% over this window of time, and the S&P is down 14.6% over this same period of time. So XLK is clearly outperforming the stock market right now. But if we look at this over the last 3 months, you can see it changes just a little bit. XLK is still outperforming because it's down 16.7%, but the S&P is down 24.6% over the last, call it 3 months. Okay, so we'll keep it on a 3-month window right now. But again, everything starts at 0, however you have your time interval set. So once we have that set in time, and I want to double check one more thing here because I have a lot of white space over here. I like some white space, but I don't like that much. So I'm going to go into this cog again. Time axis. Yeah, 20 is about okay. We can use 10 just to kind of squeeze it up a little bit just to get more information and less white space. Okay. So once you have this basic chart, just one basic comparison chart, know that you can come over here and you can say, well, what about XLF, which is the financial sector? It's just going to repopulate the chart. And now the orange candles are still the S&P, but the green and red are now XLF. So financials are underperforming the stock market, down 36.79%, where the stock market's down 24.36. If you look at a stock specific and just type in Apple, Apple's down 11% over the last Apple's down 11% over the last 3 months, and the S&P is down 24. So whatever symbol you type up here in the right, we'll go back to XLK. Sorry, in the top left ticker bar, that's what you're comparing to the S&P 500. So once we have this basic chart set up, I want you to go ahead and save this chart style. So save style as comparison. I just name it comparison chart. Okay. You can include the patterns and study set because we did add a study, which is the comparison study, and now that is saved. Now, the real fun begins when we can go ahead and build a grid. So I'm going to start with, you can start with as many grid as you want. So come up to this far left-hand side here, and there are 9, call it basic sectors in the market. But if you wanted to add more, like get more specific with, oh, I want to add real estate and I want to add, you know, subsectors, you could do as many as you want. But I'm going to start with 9. So we'll grab this grid tool and we'll build a grid with 9 charts in it. Okay. Now notice when you bring them up, it's not exactly organized to understand things really simply. So what we're going to do is we're going to add our sector ETFs, all 9 of these sector ETFs. And I'm going to go off the top of my head here. XLF for financials, XLK, we already have XLK, XLB for basic materials, XLY for discretionary, XLE, I don't have to go by memory, XLU, XLV, XLP for consumer staples, and there's one more, XLI. Okay, so here's all the major sectors. Okay, and now what we want to do is we want to take the chart that we had saved originally and apply that same chart to all 9 of these. Okay, that way we'll now have sector comparison charts of all 9 sectors compared to the S&P 500. So all you got to do is go up to your chart style settings, come up here, click on this for each one, and load comparison chart. Candles, style, load, comparison chart. Okay, and we'll do this for all 9. Candles, load style, comparison chart, etc. It's a lot of work, I know. Tough stuff here. All right, so now that we have all 9 sectors in place, we can now see that over the last 3 months, what we have is a really clear picture on what sectors have been outperforming the S&P 500 for the last 3 months and which sectors have been underperforming the S&P for the last 3 months. These lines that we have marked on the charts are from charts. We've looked at them in some of our daily market commentaries and live trading rooms, so you can delete those if you want to make it cleaner, but they will delete from all of your XLE charts. They will delete from all your XLY charts, if I'm not mistaken. So be mindful of that. But now we have a clear picture. We can clearly see which markets are underperforming and which ones are outperforming. Anywhere where the green and red candles are above the orange, those markets are outperforming over the last 3 months, the S&P 500. Any chart where the green and red candles are below the orange chart, that means that the sector is underperforming the S&P 500, and something like XLY is performing right with right in line with the S&P 500. And what I would suggest doing so you can quickly recall this 9-sector grid chart is go ahead and save this grid as, call it whatever you want, sector comparison grid. Boom. Now we got it. So anytime you're back on, let's just call it one chart, and let's say anytime you're back on just a regular price chart analyzing the market, you can quickly say, I wonder how the sector is doing. Okay, I wonder how this sector is doing relative to the broad market. Well, just come up here under style, load your style, and go to a comparison chart, and then it'll pull that up. Well, I wonder how all the sectors are doing, not just XLK. And that's when we go over here to this grid, and then we can pull down our sector comparison grid, which I've saved, and that'll pull up all 9 grid so you can have a clear picture really quickly. So I hope you guys have found this helpful. If you have any questions, text us, email us. We're happy to help in every way that we can, and I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.